Who is the rookie that everybody should be watching?
Davion Mitchell. Like when a guy named D. Mitchell, and I understand these parallels with Donovan Mitchell, Stephen A, are staggering before you even get to his game, right? They're about the same height, 6'1", 6'2". Apparently, they're born within 48 hours of each other, or at least on the same, within like both in early September. They have extremely similar games on both ends of the floor. They both wear number 45, and their names are D. Mitchell. You're going to see something like we've seen what Donovan Mitchell can do. It doesn't mean Davion can do all those things, especially under pressure, but it sure looks like he can. This guy is going to be excellent. There was a lot of speculation, Stephen A, he was going to fall out of the top 10. I was thinking that's nuts if he does. He didn't. He went 9th. And as deep and excellent as this draft was, I suspect there will be a handful of teams who are like, I can't believe we let Davion Mitchell slip through our fingers.
I feel you. I don't sneeze at that. First of all, we have to be very, very careful about anything we say about any of them brothers from Baylor. Because when we saw them in the national title game, they shut us all up. Let's remind the world of that. Boy, with them brothers special. Them brothers can ball. All right, so I ain't got nothing but respect for them. But I'm a Jalen Green dude right now. I'm watching this dude that the Houston Rockets drafted. He just looks like buckets. This brother's got range. He can get to the basket. He definitely's got hops. He can finish at the basket. He ain't scared. He's got a nice handle, some passing ability as well. Had 24 points in his debut, if I remember correctly, at the Summer League. This brother looks like he's got some big-time talent, and I would keep my eyes on him. I like what I'm seeing from here. And again, I'm partial to cats with perimeter shots. You could have all that athleticism in the world, but if you ain't got any kind of perimeter game, you're going to get exposed on the NBA level. But when you do have a perimeter game, everybody has to pay attention to you. They've got to take notice. They can't sleep on you because you know what? You can drill shots from away from the basket. That's what this guy has shown me he can do thus far. We'll see if he can continue to do it.
Okay, so Stephen A says Green, Max says Mitchell. Guys, let's go a little deeper. Who's a rookie that may not find success this year, maybe because of their situation, they need some time, but you think eventually will mature into becoming a star? Stephen A, you start.
I'd say Cade Cunningham, #1 overall pick. I'm rooting for my brother Troy Weaver in Detroit. I think they've got a long way to go personally. And as a result, you're gonna thrust him into a situation that he just may not be ready for. I don't think that he's extremely athletic. He's got some athleticism, but Cade Cunningham really knows how to ball. Excuse me. You know, he makes good decisions. He's smart with the basketball. He definitely has a perimeter shot. I don't know about his ability to finish at the rim on the NBA level. I'll have to wait and see that. But I just think that his upside is there because he's just one of those dudes that knows how to play. And again, he can hit perimeter shots. So I really like his upside.
I would say Jason Preston. I mean, Cade Cunningham is the guy everyone's focused on for good reason. He's been called the best draft prospect since LeBron James, right? Like he
by
can.
Who?
I
didn't hear that one, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I missed that. I mean, it's a rhetorical question. I'm not asking
no,
unless
you know. No, a few people did.
I didn't hear that.
And it's escaping my mind, but I'll think about that next.
By more than one. Compared to Luka Doncic, but maybe with more upside. Like he is considered a potential super duper star. That's not the case with Jason Preston. But Preston has been compared to Cade Cunningham. He's been like and the Clippers, that's the guy that they went and got, right? And they got him in the second round. They need a playmaking point guard. He has size, he has great passing ability, he has many of the things that Cade Cunningham has, only he's a second round pick. Now, how often do second round picks turn into superstars? Seldom, although there is a reigning MVP who was a second round pick in the NBA. But that generally doesn't happen. In Preston's case, I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, Stephen A., and I'm not saying he's going to be great as a rookie. But given the perseverance he's shown in his career so far, I think there's a good chance that he's a really good NBA player.
Okay.
Okay, next one here, Stephen A. And I don't know your answers ahead of time, what you guys are going to say. But it's who's going to have the bounce-back season. And you better be saying, Stephen A., Klay Thompson, because nobody has talked about him more, being more excited for them to come back and what those Warriors are going to do.
Well, I don't view him as a bounce back because he didn't have a drop-off. He just got injured. I look at Klay Thompson rather as a first ballot, surefire future Hall of Famer and one of the top 5 greatest shooters in the history of basketball, who automatically ascends the Golden State Warriors to the Final Four of the NBA. That's how I view Klay Thompson. That's how high I have been on him. The name that I'm going to come up with when we talk about a bounce back, I'm gonna pull a name out of the hat. How about somebody like an Isaiah Thomas, who just dropped 81 points in some Pro-Am league? This is an emotional pick, Max. Here's why. We forget that this brother was in Boston and averaged 29. But his injuries wasn't handled correctly. And he was never healthy again. And so when I think about him being healthy, I'm like, excuse me, there's a whole bunch of teams that brother can help if he is 100% healthy, because he could just put the ball in the hole. He's a very, very gifted offensive player. And the money that it cost him, first of all, he was going to get shortchanged because he was a miniature dude. And Danny Ainge, wisely knowing that he wasn't 100% and what have you, didn't elect to invest in him, and he ultimately was traded to Cleveland, if I remember correctly. But this dude has missed out on so much money, and I would love to see him back in the NBA and get an opportunity to really showcase his offensive skills, because there's a whole bunch of teams he could be a huge plus for if he's 100%.
Yeah, that's my actual answer, too. He's one of my favorite players of all time. Do people understand what it is for a 5'9" guy to be as good as he's been in the NBA? And that's a real bounce back. Like, it'd be great to see him bounce back.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.